questions or comments? Okay, moving forward with the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, action carries. Treasurer's report.
You have the report. Any questions about the 2025 budget? And keep in mind, we are going to talk about it a little bit in the 2026 budget review. Thank you.
All right. I need review invoices and authorization to pay bills. Sandy, thank you. Somebody second. Wendy, thank you. Any questions or comments? Moving forward with the action. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Review carries. Beaver Area Memorial Library.
Hello.
Bring it in a big one.
Yes. He is hot, huh? That's what all the girls say, right? Oh. Anyway, Pat and I are here to represent our library, which is such an integral part of our community, and we're so lucky to have such a great facility. Out of all of the 12 county libraries, Beaver accounts for 30% of the circulation, which is phenomenal considering the size of our town. So far this year, we have put on 415 in-person programs. Well over 6,000 people were in attendance. This year, we have registered 625 new library cards, and we have 6,209 already on record in the library. So far, there have been 68,000 visits to our library, and 138,000 physical items have been checked out. That's books and tools. We have the tool thing because of Fisher's Hardware. We have over 500 children signed up for our summer reading program, and each ended up getting a free book when it was over. And our patrons now have access to a social worker through the county program. We do get a lot of characters that show up in the library. You never know what you're going to find in the bathrooms or whatever. So the social worker really comes in handy. It's a very nice thing to have. And you want to say a special thank you. I have more to say, but he's going to say a special thank you.
Hopefully everybody saw the work that was done at the library. So I want to thank several people. First, the very nice donation for the Beaver Heritage Foundation, which was very well appreciated. And the Boro workers were a huge help. So I just wanted to say Brent, everybody knows Brent. And let me see, Justin Hogue and the two Brians, Brian Cause and Brian Grover, came and helped. And those guys were on their hands and knees for a day and a half laying those bricks. So I got to tell you, I really do appreciate it. And Nancy Lynette, who I think most people know, has a landscaping business. She did the layout for all the plants and everything like that at no charge for the library. Went out, got all the plants, and there were 166, and I know that because we dug a lot of holes. Different plants and everything like that. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody because I think it was a good project for the community and everybody pitched in.
As soon as Sarah put the umbrella out there, people were sitting underneath the umbrella. I mean, immediately.
You see kids out there with their laptops,
Yeah.
and it's really neat.
No, it's been great.
It really looks beautiful.
It does, doesn't
Yes.
it? We have a plaque that actually just got finished that we're going to put up. It'll be up in a few days, so thank you.
I hope everyone will go to take a look at the plaque. It really is beautiful.
Yeah, right.
You could,
I just want to add, you left out one important person. I was by there with, say, Nancy Lynette, and you were hard at it too.
yeah.
That's how I know how many holes.
Yeah. So, they did a wonderful job. I saw them working, and you had dirt all over, and that's hard work on that.
And the people at the library too are going out, because we haven't had rain for what everybody knows. They go out there and water every day. All the people that work and the volunteers and everything like that. So that's pretty important too. So,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Well done.
So you can come see it because we are warmly inviting you all to come to our fall fundraiser. It's held by the Friends of the Library. Alex is really good about coming to our fundraisers. And it's on November the 1st at 6:30 p.m. If you can't make that date, you can go down and buy raffle tickets ahead of time and stick them in with the baskets so you can still win a basket even if you can't come. It's called Turning Leaves, Turning Pages. It's at 6:30. There's raffle baskets refreshments and shopping in our unique boutique and our knit shop. And there's a cozy coffee bar that Cafe Kalachi donates all the time. They've always been very gracious to our library. And obviously, we are concerned in these crazy times when the state budget's not balanced and the federal government's not balanced. Nobody seems to know where the money's going to be or where it's going to come from. So we hope you'll keep us in mind. You've been very generous with us in the past, both with your money and with your labor.
Support.
But we needed to keep we needed to keep coming. Sarah said, because of your generosity, we are able to continue to serve our patrons in a time of low funding and uncertainty. It is our privilege to serve such a supportive community, and we are so grateful for library friends like you all. Thank you. So please keep us in mind for the fundraiser and for the money.
And Sarah has done a wonderful
She-
Yes,
job
she really has.
planning programs to really support all ages in the community. I mean, when you look
Yep.
at the newsletter, I will look and I will say, oh my gosh, there is so much going on.
I don't know how she does it all. Well, there's Sarah, and then there's Nicole, is the assistant director, and then Samantha's our new children's library.
Right.
And they're all like, whoo, like, I mean, constant ideas just flow out of their brain, and they do it. You know, it's not just like the ideas are there. They actually get out and do the work, which is it's a real treat for our
Well,
community.
there's some numbers that Mary Ann, but yeah, 30% for all of Beaver County. That's pretty amazing.
It's a tribute
thank
to
you
you
very
all
much.
too. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I open the floor to public for public participation. If you'd like to speak, please stand, state your name, and the ward you reside in. And you have 3 minutes, so anyone.
I'll go. Let's go. Ellen Crutchmar, Ward 2. I know several of you weren't here at the last working session, but I just wanted to say as a public comment that I was very disappointed in the blatant disrespect conduct that the president of the council showed to his fellow council people. I believe you deserve an apology. And even more appalling was when there were questions from my other representative from Ward 2 about digging into the details. The co-chair of the finance committee was willing to dig into those details, and the president shut down the entire conversation. And that's why we have public meetings, is so that we can hear how our tax dollars are being spent. So that's my first comment. And then the second one is about the budget. So just to throw some numbers out there, back in 2020, the actual expenses were 4.9 million. 2021 remained steady at 4.9. 22, it went to 5, which was a 3% increase in expenses. And then in 2023, it went up 12%. And then in 2024, it went up 17% to 6.5 million. So I'm just wondering, if you guys can actually have a discussion of how you're going to curb these kind of costs, because they're not going up like other places. Other places might be going up overall 4%, like in the school district. They didn't even have to do a millage increase. So what ideas are you guys, going to formulate to kind of address, instead of just saying our costs are going up and up and up, comparing it to other communities, seeing what other people are doing to try to keep our, tax dollars be most beneficial and not having another big tax increase in just a couple of years. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Kretzmar, I will not be giving an apology, so just so you know. All right. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, please.
My name's Donna Blott. I live at 640 Fifth Street, and I'm here with concerns about 3 junk cars that are on College Avenue. They've been there for over a year.
Months.
And they just sit there, they just get tickets, and they just sit there, and they have flat tires, and it's a real eyesore to our community. Our taxes are out of this world because we built a new house, and we live around all these other houses that are,
They don't cut the grass.
It's
A lot of people don't have to cut the grass.
it's just horrible
Well,
where we live.
like
But
one
it
of the
never
courthouses of the Beaver
There,
County.
I knew.
If I could
We're
just
on the
give,
wrong side of 3rd Street.
They're
Seems
married.
like,
you can speak.
I'm just saying, if them cars have been sitting there.
What's your name? What's your name,
Just your
sir?
name, that's all.
Oh, I said them cars have been sitting there forever and
Where-
there's
where
no
at?
tow-away stickers
Yeah,
or nothing.
on College, going up.
Why did they sit there?
We were at on college.
Going up past Fifth Street,
In
going up to
between.
Sixth,
Between
Sixth and Fifth.
Fifth and Sixth, yeah. yellow Hummer, it's been there
It's
since
been
last
forever.
summer. And then there's two other cars, one's a little, I don't know what it is, a Ford Fiesta. And then there's a new one added now, and it's CRV or something.
Yeah, we can look at it.
So,
We can look at it first thing tomorrow, it's first.
Yeah.
We know the lady with the yellow Hummer, last we knew she was in a nursing home, they were trying to find keys, so. But it's been there, I agree with you, so, but, you know, she was in and out of the hospital. Again, it's the first we hear of the
She wasn't-
CRV, but.
Yeah, last summer she wasn't in the hospital, so, I mean, when it
When this
initially.
initially broke down, she wasn't in the hospital. They just started driving another car. You know, we live there, we see what's going on, and that
First,
first,
yeah,
it just sits there.
I got you. We'll look at it first thing tomorrow, thank you.
And that's it.
Any others? Going once, going twice, okay, we're gonna move on to our council committees, finance.
All right, everybody. I want to start by saying that last week's discussion was brought up yet again, this notion of timeline. And I just want to remind everybody on council that we started the budget process for 2026 actually with our 5-year budget. We presented that to you all in detail in May. And that continues to be the foundation for which we have now built. And so there are no big surprises because you've all been involved in those conversations since then. And in every month, every meeting, Todd or I takes you through any unexpected expenses, any impacts that have happened to the budget that we were not aware of or did not have in the current year budget. And we start every meeting with a request for questions on the treasurer's report. So I was taken a little bit aback last week or last month by the tone in the room around expecting there to be lots of surprises, because no one should expect there to be any surprises. The other thing that I want to say is the timeline for sharing is staying as has always been the case. I've gone over it in detail with the borough, with Andy, and with our solicitor. So we did share a brief view of the document with you in the last meeting. You will get a handout of it in the next meeting. We are finalizing just a few extra numbers right now, and I'll take you through what those are. When those copies are shared, you'll have a month to go through them and get back to us with any questions. We are happy to answer any questions. What we are, again, trying to portray here is transparency and openness around decisions that have gone into the budget that every single member of this council has been a part of, either by voting or by discussion. So again, there is no surprises here. So the budget will be handed out. We are off on the 11th because of Veterans Day. So then we'll come back together on the 25th, and that's when we will vote on it. Then it will go into advertising, and then the final budget approval will happen for vote. The final vote will be December 9th. Okay, so it's just like every year since I've been around, which is only 4 years. The good news, let me talk a little bit about 2025. It's not a huge change from last week. That's why I keep saying last week, because every week I'm working on this. But the 2025 budget, as you can see in the treasurer's report, is in a very good position. Exactly what we needed to have happen with this tax increase. The cash on hand in September is $2.1 million. That is over a 200% increase versus where we were a year ago at $869,000. We expect to end the year at around $500,000 surplus, and we'll be moving some or all of that into the capital fund so that we have that money as was planned as our capital fund fallback position. This is what we needed. The big variable, as is every year, but this year it was bigger than anybody expected, was healthcare and pensions. That's always a number that comes in around this time, and that's the big number that's being finalized now, but we still believe our projections hold tight that we will come in at about $500,000 surplus. So that's the good news, that's the wrap up of 2025. Any questions you have, the treasurer's report, any questions on that? Yeah.
When we were having our discussion last time, and you provided a great deal of information during that meeting. I think at the beginning, though, you mentioned something, speaking about pensions, that we had, I think, some surprise.
They were just higher, significantly higher than we had budgeted.
And that was a figure of what? Was it 180? Did I hear it right? 180,000?
It was.
It was. And what do you attribute that to?
That is attributed to I believe, the government setting the pension rate that we have to follow.
Okay. Given that, and given that medical expenses and pension funds are such a significant, can be such a significant piece of the budget, are you looking at some kind of, and we do have a number of police officers, I understand they're going to be going into the drop or already in the drop. Are you looking at projecting out so that we have an idea, so that, we don't have
For the future?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So we normalize our projections for the years ahead based on where they come in the current year. So this will change that in the 5-year plan.
Okay.
And our intention, and I won't be here after the end of this year, but Todd's intention is to maintain the 5-year rolling budget with Andy so that we always have a 5-year view.
Okay. When would we see that?
Spring,
Spring. Okay.
we'll try to, my advice would be we keep it on the same schedule, so we have that updated in the spring, and then we work towards the October budget for the next year being more final. Because that October is when the pension numbers come in.
Thank you.
And Andy will be here next meeting.
Andy will be here in the next meeting.
Amy,
But he'll be on the phone.
and remember, the 180 was the initial number that we had to send to the state, but whenever you took the state aid, the units for the police officers, the state aid units for the highway department, and the employee contributions, it brought that 180 number, but we didn't have that data, so that number appeared as 180, but it's actually a good bit. Ken, you have a good grip on that number too.
It's a moving number. The
Yeah.
police union contributes the max that we're allowed to by law, or that we could even be made to. That's one portion of it. Then you have the state aid, you get 2 units for a law enforcement officer. That number fluctuates year in, year out. It typically goes up. That's based on insurance premiums. If you pay insurance to a company that their home base is in Pennsylvania, there's a surcharge on it. That's where you get the money for state aid. So depending on how much year in, year out is generated by that, you'll get the state aid, and then the difference is what your MMO is. That's what the state will determine. So that's going to fluctuate. Historically, it stayed at a certain point, a certain percentage every year, but it does change.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. So we'll have to use that range when we're projecting moving forward. The pension aid number that we're working with now is down from the 180 to 155. So it, again, continues to fluctuate.
The other portion of that is the officers that are in the drop, you don't get state aid for, but you also don't have to contribute to the pension for them.
Right.
It's a cost neutral item. So it's not incurring a larger cost or anything because people are like, well, we're losing the state aid. You also, their pension benefit is set. That's their pension for the rest of their life. They could be gone, you would be paying them, they're not contributing to it anymore.
But that pension, that number too, that was borough-wide, that wasn't the police, that was water, sewer department, the highway department, that was the totality of the number, but with the offsets with the contributions and the state aid, so it was a little bit lower than that.
Pension aid was 155, yeah, highways, yeah. Okay. Anything, is that? Any other questions on 2025 right now? Awesome, thanks guys. Okay, the current 2026 view, I don't expect it to change substantially between now and when we give you the budget in the next meeting. Is that our total income is at $6.02 million, and our total expenses are coming in at about 5.8. So we have a projected surplus of $200,000 for the year. This budget that you'll see includes all of the baseline agreements that we have discussed all year long. This I'll go through what those are. It does remove some of the ancillary costs, some of the things that we know require some additional discussion, so I'll go through those. I think it's really important that, we recognize that the tax increase, which will continue to be a topic of discussion, I'm sure, needs to be embraced as a decision that we all voted for the right reasons, and it's working. It did get passed. It is what we needed to do, and the lesson that we learned, and to Ms. Kretschmar's point, is that the cost of living continues to get more and more expensive. Tariffs will continue to drive the cost of goods and services up every year. So we will always make attempts to maintain and cap that cost, and we have to continue to look for other streams of revenue. Places like the condos being built are a wonderful source of revenue for the town, for a fairly landlocked town that doesn't have a lot of room to grow, unlike some of our neighboring communities that have room for additional real estate to be developed. So always open to ideas. The finance committee is always brainstorming on ways we can generate revenue. And so please don't just look at Todd and me, and in the future, whoever this will be, as the only people who can be suggesting these ideas. They need to come from everyone. The last point I just want to make is that the line-by-line summary that you know, when we go through it in the next meeting, that's still, as I said, being refined, and you'll have a bit of detail to accompany you so that we all don't have to sit and go through it line by line by line. Okay. So the big items that are included in this budget that you'll see, and we've made some changes from last time, but nothing too major. So the police vehicle rotation will happen. So there's 2 police vehicles that are in rotation next year, and the tasers are being replaced. That has been agreed. Playground improvement is in. Increased fireworks and community events budget for America 250 is in. Crosswalk installation, although it may be covered by a grant, is currently in here at 30 grand. That could come back if we get the grant. Increased pension contributions for both police and municipal, as we talked about. Healthcare costs went up by 11% this year. We do have a $20,000 line item for maintenance to this building that I talked about last time. I've asked Dan, as borough manager, to start thinking through what that plan is for where that money will be spent and what this building needs. The belly mower is in, so we don't have that problem that we had this past summer. A police camera has been added. Requested by the Boro. And then we do have included in this budget non-union employee wage increases that we'll take you through in detail. The things that still have to be considered if we wanted to spend any of the surplus. A new police officer, 1 full-time police officer. We do not have that in currently. Streetscape improvements, although Dan mentioned last week that last week I did it again in the last meeting, that the Boro team can take care of a lot of that. There will be materials needed to regrout and do whatever we need to do to the bricks, and to maintain the streetscape as we have it. We still need to talk about whether or not we need a new street sweeper or leaf collector. Leaf picker upper. My favorite, I will go down swinging on this one, is no U-turn signage on 3rd Street. I watched another U-turn happen the other day, and I almost hit another car. We will talk through FNB loan repayment, revisit restructuring that so that we don't carry that deficit on the budget for a long 5-year window. Last time we talked about skunk eradication. I think we have a potential solution to that, but that is going to come in at less than a $10,000 number that was floated, so I think we need to talk about that. And then there's ongoing property repairs and things for some of the real all on the to be considered list, and when we go, I would really appreciate it, and if anybody needs this list from me, I'm happy to give it to you. Really appreciate it if you really think through, you know, all of the things that we talked about all year long as necessary expenses for the town versus putting money in the capital fund and keeping that contingency budget at a solid 10 to 15% of the overall budget.
Thank you for all your hard work.
I was gonna say, Amy, thank you. You know, we've had a lot of different people on the finance committee, and some people dug in, but you really rolled up your sleeves, as Todd did. And I know we spent a lot of time, the four of us, going back and forth and whittling it down, doing the best we could. And I know you spent a lot of time just asking questions, and you spent a lot of your own personal time holding it and pulling it together, and did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. The one thing I want to ask, though, is that in the non-union borough staff compensation adjustments, we do have a proposal for a new position to be introduced, and I think we need to go to executive session on that. Is that right?
Yeah, it would be appropriate if you wanted to discuss that further, discuss that particular portion of the executive session. I think what we would probably do, you could probably go through the meeting, there's no action is gonna be taken, adjourn into executive session.
Okay, and I think this won't surprise anybody. It's part of the longer-term 5-year plan and succession planning. We have to prepare for turnover in the team, and we have a good solution. So we can do that tonight, I guess.
Yeah, we can have that discussion.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, general government.
Excuse me, no report, but I don't know if this is the time to say this, but the Boro workers have been working so diligently on repairing the streets. There are lots of closures, lots of detours, but it's a small time or small inconvenience for a long-term improvement. I mean, they are really moving it through this October before the weather turns.
There's only 4 of them.
I appreciate the work they're doing.
Thank you, I'll pass that on.
Highways.
Well, I can jump into it. So the paving, they're going around town right now. They're finishing up on 7th Street. They're gonna be on Boro tomorrow. The paving, we're hoping to have them out of town towards the end of next week. They're working down over the hill. Ricky, I know you've been instrumental working back and forth, and
Yeah, they're gonna wrap it up probably the end of next week.
yeah. So again, we're fortunate we were able, one of the few years with Columbia Gas, to get our paving done in October, so we're not doing it in December. And then we don't get all the paving done, it's a carryover, it looks like we misspent, nobody knows what they're doing. So we were actually fortunate that we were able to get that locked in, and we're hoping with some conversation with the mayor to maybe split our paving up into 2 different sessions, get our paving done, borrow paving in the spring, go out in February, March, get the paving, and then whenever Columbia Gas has, have them come back in the fall. So that way we can stay ahead of it, and we're not into 2 separate calendar years, which creates a budgeting nightmare and liquid fuels and all kinds of stuff. So, but that's all on the highway.
Public safety, code enforcement. Recreation.
Just do another shout out. I've been working with the chamber on October 25th for the kids in town for the Halloween. I think it's Halloween on 3rd, or I forget our official title of it. But in along, we have the support of the police, the fire, and JROTC coming out to help. So bring your kids if you guys are here.
Okay. Moving on to the reports, I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna have Mr. Our mayor speak first, and then I'll go to the manager.
Thank you. We had a few things. It was a busy month. This time of the year seems to get that way, but we did have the coffee with the cops over at the courthouse. I believe the state police sponsored that, and we attended that. That was nice to have in the community. Then there was the wine festival. The chamber ran the wine festival. It was very good, well attended. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, and it showcased a lot of the business. And that's kind of what brought me to, at this point, a couple of new business showcased their places during that So I thought it was important to maybe welcome them and highlight them to this community. And the first one was the reclaimed threads. It used to be the Snyder's flyer. And fortunately, our ombudsman, Rick Gernati, connected me with the owner, and I got to meet them. And the day of the wine festival, Scott Hattie was there. We toured that new shop. And it's exciting. It's a high-end, it's not just a regular thrift shop. It's a high-end men's and as well as women's. We don't have much men's clothes. And in fact, the owner was on WBBP, and they're going to have a grand opening of Beaver with their station truck down here. And they were on the radio promoting, and the owner said the reason they came back here was that they called this area home. They came back here, the woman that's doing this is a professional executive at some insurance company, but this is her passion. And the other reason was it's a vibrant and active business district, which those are the words we want to hear. And, anyway, I want to put a plug in for them. Then the Mexican Crave, it went out, but as soon as it went out, a new place came in, and I don't know about the pronunciation, Tacor El Ventura, or something like that. And, they were here for the wine festival, and they are located at the southern part of the mall for anybody that goes out to Boardman, and supposedly everybody raves about it. And I think some of the officers sampled it, that wine tasting event. They said it was very good, but we're fortunate they went into an empty spot. And the last one that went in was Simply Polished. It's a new nail salon behind the Grandpa Joe's. Sarah, we talked to her the other day. She has a current place in Chippewa, but she chose to expand and come down here to our town. So it's exciting that they're coming to town, and it leads, in my opinion, it confirms what the town's center associate, Luce's group, Mark's put this program on, and that's the thing he always focused. You may have people come and go, and that's okay, and things come and go, but the good thing is they keep coming. There's turnover, and it's a positive story for the community, and we're fortunate to have these type of businesses come in. I think they're going to be a good asset. Okay, that's for the business. I have some announcements. There's a scam workshop at the pool house, October 24th, 10 to 12 a.m. or 10 to 12 p.m. That's a Friday. Supposedly there's 40-some people already signed up for it. Then the next event is this is kind of a unique thing tied to the skunk, excuse me, not the skunks, the Liberty Tree issue. Freemasons of Pennsylvania have taken it upon themselves to plant trees in all 67 counties in Pennsylvania. And part of that is, and I've learned a lot of this from talking to Rebecca's been going to these meetings, but they've invited us as a borough to participate down at the fort. There's a dedication, October 25th, that's a Saturday at 11 a.m. at the Fort McIntosh site. The tree's already planted, but apparently this is for the 250 celebration. The Liberty Tree was where the Revolutionary War soldiers met and discussed it's very historic, the freedom fight. So, and this was the part that, I know they said this at the meeting and I confirmed it on, the last tree was destroyed a few years ago in a storm in Maryland, but they took the seeds from this, they grafted these seeds from those last tree to make, the one that's down there is apparently an ancestor to that tree, which is interesting. I'd have to ask Nancy about that. But anyway, they're going to be here. It's a big deal. They're coming here to do this, and I think that's exciting for the town. It's the Freemasons from this area. They're putting this one here. It's already done, but I hope anybody can attend that. And the last event is the Veterans Day parade is coming up.
Veterans Day Parade.
November 11th. Yes, at 10:30. that's coming up. The Vietnam veterans from this area are sponsoring it, but it's going to be held here in Beaver. They chose to have it here in Beaver, and that's exciting too. So that leads me up to my last issue. I saved the best for last, and it is a smelly issue, obviously. Is the skunks. Everybody agrees, we have a lot of skunks in town, and there's been a lot of talk about it.
I was on my porch the other night, someone walked by your house.
Well, and the other night I was sitting on the front porch, and our little guard dog, Sophia, alerted us to an intruder, and thank God that she did, because Sophia pointed out the skunk, and we were chased around the house, but we were able to evade it anyway. There are a lot of skunks in town. I'm sure a lot of people in this room have seen skunks. But just as background, at one time we did have a fellow that did this skunk trapping, and it worked out pretty good. He would, whatever the cost was, say it was $500, we would charge the resident $250, and the borough would subsidize it with $250. And we got rid of a lot of skunks. It worked real well. Unfortunately, he either got tired of doing it or retired. So nobody else seemed to want to step up to do that. Hard to believe, but there are a lot of people who want to trap skunks. So now that gentleman came in, the question is, how do we do it? The gentleman came in last meeting and offered to do it, offered a lot of ideas and suggestions, but unfortunately never followed through with any contract proposal, which we need. So it's a very difficult thing to come up with what's the proper way to do this and so forth. So tonight I'm pleased to announce that we have what we think is a process to do this, and it's a little bit creative and a little bit unusual, but that's good. So anyway, at this point, I would like to defer to the manager who came up with this process, and he can address this issue.
So it's again, I've been here 35 years, and we've been messing with skunks 35 years ago. So it's not unique to Beaver, and we're the only one. Spoke with the COG, and actually prior to this meeting, and I asked them, are there any programs in the county that, no, everybody go buy your own trap your own skunks. So in going back and forth, we knew, living in town here, that's just not the answer, just to say you're on your own if we're able to help. So we reached out to different vendors and tried, and again, somebody says, I trapped 20 skunks in a month, you're cutting them a check for a few $1,000, and did they catch 5? You don't know. So it's hard to track. Our guys used to have to call the people and say, hey, I have a skunk in your trap. They would come from an hour away, remove the skunk, and charge us all kind of goofy fees. So what we did was we tried to come up with a goal that was effective and financially responsible and a long-term approach. And what I did is sat down with the mayor and with the solicitor. Garrett's in the process of drawing up agreements for homeowners. So what we're going to do is, I have 3 highway guys within the highway department. We're going to do it in-house. So I can't force the guys. It's something you can't force them to do. So we had a creative conversation. These guys hunt, trap, fish. They do this already. So we got creative with it. Reached out to the game commission. Somebody that would trap skunks would have to have a license, would have to go through that whole process. The borough's exempt, being a governmental agency on that, and any full-time employees on our payroll are covered and exempt, so they don't have to have a license or permit to do so. So what we're going to do is, as we speak, we already have 6 or 8 traps around town. We started to do this process last week, and we're hoping to open it up sometime this week to the homeowners. The game commission just got back to us with all the documentation. So we did have a plan in process for the last month or 2, but we couldn't say anything because we weren't sure how it was going to fold out. The employees wanted to think about it. It's nothing we can force them. We had a meeting with the employees. We came back, and what better guys to do it? They're out in the middle of the night. They're out early for leaves. They're here on the weekends for traps. So we always have a borough employee in and out all the time. So we came up with some parameters with the solicitor and the mayor. So we're going gonna implement those. We actually started, in-house over the weekend, and, so it took us some time. We're confident in the process. It's gonna be a lot more cost effective to do it in-house. And, so once we get situated here, we're gonna open it up to the residents. They can contact the borough office. And at that time, the staff, the three, which is Brent, once again, Brent, Brian Kozlowski, and Justin Quigley. So those are your three guys that volunteered and wanted to take this challenge on. And, so the process would be, somebody would call the borough office would then notify, one of the guys. Between the three of them, they would figure out who's going to take it. They would, at that point, the form that Aaron's drawing up, a release of liability form to be signed off by the homeowner, giving the borough employee, permission to do. At this point, we're not gonna charge. There's not gonna be any cost to the residents. So again, things may change when I come back to council 6 months from now and say, hey, this is working, but we need to charge, or we don't need to charge. I don't know. So, anyway, I'm pleased that, everybody worked together. And again, we're the only community in Beaver County that's actually taking an approach to do something like this. So, but it took a little bit of time to pull it together, so we weren't shooting from the hip and doing something, and then all of a sudden the game commission says, hey, you guys can't do this. All three of the guys' names are certified through the game commission. Everything's been signed off and dotted the i's, crossed the t's. And, so looks like we can put this issue to bed. We're gonna, once again, the borough employees are gonna step up and handle business like we're supposed to, so.
Where do the skunks go? Where do the skunks go?
So what you mean after they're trapped?
Yeah.
So they use the, state law, the state, game commission's guidelines for disposal.
And how much does that cost the borough?
What do you?
To euthanize the skunks?
It's all in the whole program. There is no cost. Dan said there's no cost. So, Dan, thanks for working on the plan with the borough workers. And, I mean, they're really taking that extra step to,
Well, yeah, and again,
help us out.
they're following the game. So it's no different than us hiring whoever to do this, and we're paying them $300-400 to take out one skunk. Our guys are following the same process that they're doing. And our guys were given the printout from the game commission as to the guidelines. And like I said, these guys hunt, fish, trap, they've been doing it since they were kids, so they've done this before on their own properties and for neighbors and different stuff. So, I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of the process, and the mayor and Garrett, everybody worked together. At first, they kind of laughed at me, like, what are you talking about? And I talked to the employees, and they started. I said, nah. We kind of went back and forth, and once they realized I was serious, they're kind of like, well, maybe that will work. But here's the thing: these guys realize it too, the highway guys, because in the middle of the night they're out doing leads and everything else, and they have to avoid the skunks. So they realize, and for us to just do it on borough property, okay, somebody came in and said there's so many skunks per acre. All we have River Road and down over the hill, water lot in our parks, but it's not taking care of the center of town and the hubs under people's sheds, underneath people's decks and porches. So again, if we just take care of it, it's not gonna take care of the problem within the center. So, it's creative, and we're gonna do our best, and we'll give council a periodic update.
Thanks for thinking outside the box.
Yeah, that's what we did. So anyway, you guys updated on that one. Also, Thursday, October 30th, from 6 to 8 is trick or treat. So October 30th is a Thursday, 6 to 8 trick or treat. Paving update, we covered that. They're gonna be doing some filming tomorrow up on the 7th Street area. So 7th Street's gonna be closed from Buffalo Street to Navigation Street. Is that right, Ken? Navigation?
It's gonna be the 1100 block of 7th Street.
Yeah.
Between Navigation and the pool house, essentially. They're using the pool house to, do makeup and certain things.
Yeah, they rented it for the next 4 days, and they had it a couple of days last week, so that's working out, which leads me into going over some numbers with Rebecca today. So far for 2026, the pool house has already booked 40 times for 2026, so we still have a few months left. So we'll get an end of year recap where we're at. I think that's pretty good just for being open a short period of time, and again, 40 people people actually have it booked for the holidays. People are having their Thanksgiving and because their families are so large, so it's kind of a neat place that people are starting to gather, and hopefully they'll use it as a tradition. The fall newsletter came out. I think, thank you, Rebecca, and everybody involved that wrote articles and had input. I think the newsletter, we got away from the previous newsletter that was a lot of advertisement and really didn't tell you what was going on. But the new newsletter, really happy with it. It really gets a lot of good information out and gives people. So if anybody on council or even the public have any ideas or anything you'd like to see for the next one, please let us know.
Yeah, I just want to call you guys out on that. It was a nice, easy read, lots of good information, didn't have to fish through ads and.
Yeah.
And lots of compliments about it.
Yeah. Johanna did, they did a great job. Another thing, Amy, you had brought up too about the new places over there on the tax rolls across from the fire department. So we just got notification and just saw, I think it was at 680,000 or 640, 630. So they're all sold. The last one just sold for $630,000. So again, if we were, that's because I'd like for people to be dropping that kind of money on houses in town.
Yes, could I have one more thing? I think it'd be nice to recognize that legislation, the ordinance, the change to the zoning facilitated that. And Garen had a lot of work to do to make sure that happened right, and that facilitated that development there. And I think it looks nice. It's beautiful.
Is the development still going in down at the end of Court?
I know they're trying, but I think got shot. There was some, Rick.
No, it was denied.
Right.
It was denied.
They're coming back, and they're trying to get with it.
Yeah,
No, it's not part of the overlay district, I just
They're
thought.
trying to come back with something else.
Let's hope they come back with it.
AAUW had one of the townhomes on the kitchen tour for October 4th. We had over 400 people come through
Wow.
8:10, and it sold. And before the end of the day, the one at the very end sold. So they're all sold.
That's great.
Right, 683.
Yeah, I don't think people be dropping that kind of money in town. They didn't know that there was a good return and they were gonna, screw it up a little better, so. Anyway, last two things that I have, this is gonna require some council talk for maybe, not even a work session, something we're gonna need to come up with, and this falls into something Rick's been working on. So, there's a gentleman in town, he needs curbs and sidewalks, he can't afford it, he's way up in age, and he said, what do you say, Rick, I'll give the borough the house, just do the curbs and sidewalks, and when I die, you can have my house. We don't want your house, because we don't want to assume your landscape, the guy has no family, but the curb and sidewalk needs fixed. It's on a corner, so it's 2 curbs, 2 sidewalks. The first bid Rick got, we talked to Garen, the gentleman said, I'll sign whatever, just leave my property. So I said, Rick, let's get some prices, talk to Garen, we'll come back to council, it's $30,000. So where I'm going with this, and again, that's a conversation for another time, but why I'm bringing this information up is because it falls hand in hand with this. Right now, the borough's owed $235,000. Right now, we're owed $170,000 and some change in 2025 back taxes. We have 125 parcels in town that are unpaid. So people haven't paid their taxes, 125 parcels for a total of $170,000 we're owed there. We're also owed another $21,000 in water and sewer bills, 24 accounts unpaid. And I have a list upstairs, and when I saw some of the names unpaid on the water bills, I'm like, you kidding me? But that's not gonna get into who and what, that's not what this conversation's for. And the last one is liens. Right now, the borough, we have liens that are hanging out there, what, Debbie, 15, 20 years from curb and sidewalks back in the 80s and 90s. And like Mr. Petrosteel, solicitor that we had prior, he always said, Dan, that's money in the bank. I get it, it's money in the bank, and like I joke with Amy, it's like, if we put this money, $30,000 for this gentleman to lean his property, you're gonna get a better return at the 10% than you do a CD. So, do you invest the money to try to, get the town, like, Rick, you said that side, curb and sidewalk, and we looked at it,
It's a hazard. If somebody falls there, we're gonna get sued.
yeah, so we're trying to be creative once again and trying to figure this out, but again, the borough's on the hook right now for $235,000 with the liens. So we're owed $235,000, so, again, it's just, I wanted to make you guys aware of that, when Amy's doing her numbers and stuff, we still have a business to run, even though we're fronting the money and paying for these services, sometimes we don't get reimbursed, and if we do, it's years later. So we're gonna have a decision to make after first of the year. Do we spend $30,000 to do the curbs and sidewalk, leaving the gentleman's property? We're gonna get the money back with 10% interest, but how long does that money, is it gonna take us 5 years to get it back, 10 years? So it's conversations for another time, but it just shows we have to have this money in reserve when these things come up, that we have to be able to do and handle. So, 235, it's a chunk of money, and we'll have to figure out what we're gonna do to get this. We're still getting a few more bids from different contractors, and we'll come back to council and try to get a little bit of guidance.
There was something about me that came up in the COG section too, of municipalities and sheriff's cells. And when the sheriff's cell happens, the county is only really interested in getting the county's money. So it's not, since you have, the municipality has a lien against it, that doesn't mean when they sell this, the house and sheriff's cell, that the municipality's gonna get their money back.
The bank's like the number one wants to get their money.
Yeah, we gotta get, doesn't necessarily count to that.
Yeah, so right now, believe it or not, on the liens, it's $44,000 in liens, but that's only 6 sidewalks. So we only have 7 liens out, 6 sidewalks and 1 cleanup. So it's a chunk of money too, but some of these people flat out said, like this gentleman, not being disrespectful, please leave my property and pay for my curb and sidewalk. I don't have the money. You can't, I'm not trying to be, like the guy told you, he's an old timer, nice guy. I don't have the money to do it. I know it needs fixed. I can't afford it. So what do you know? So again, we'll have to figure that out. What we're gonna do, but that falls into 235, falls into that budget. It's a ghost number. It's nowhere in the budget. But it's money we've spent over the years and depleted. Like if we take that 30K out of our 500,000 or whatever we decide to put, we take 30K out of that, we may not see that for 10 years.
Right, or 20.
Yeah. So anyway, last thing I have is just some interesting tidbits. So earlier comment was made about tax dollars being spent, and I'd like to pass along where some tax dollars are being spent. So since last meeting, we've had 4 additional right-to-know requests, totaling 47 different types of records. One request asked for 11 years' worth of transactions for a total of 29 separate budget line items. To date, 163 different categories or types of documents requested from one individual. The borough has provided this individual 1,700 pages of records so far. That doesn't include what's still outstanding and owed. The borough continues to comply with all the right-to-know laws and with the guidance of the solicitor. But when you put that into perspective, again, we can say that all the houses on Taylor Avenue, that their tax increase is going to pay for the right-to-know game. Also, too, the Bible's only 1,200 pages. So by the time you take this with the new documents that we will provide, we'll be in excess of probably mid-2,000 pages. So we're doing what we need to do, but it comes at a cost, and just wanted to let council and let everybody know that's where some of our tax dollars are being spent. Thank you.
All right, moving on to President's report. As mentioned earlier, we will go into executive sessions immediately following our adjournment of this meeting to discuss personnel. Do we have anything for the police chief? Engineer? Anything from the engineer?
No, Dan's working with Rick on the paving and everything's going good.
Okay. Solicitor?
I feel it's important to add something that, again, you often hear the negative things, we don't hear the good things. I had the ability to work quite a lot with the individuals who were involved with the filming, from the standpoint of they had to meet with borough representatives, they had to meet with county representatives because they were filming at the courthouse, and they're also going to be filming, as mentioned here, in the next couple days here in the borough. And one of the themes that constantly came up from a multitude of the people who I talked to is how they thought this community was a very special community. These individuals work throughout Western Pennsylvania, some of them work out of state, and they couldn't say enough good things about Beaver. So I felt that was important to pass on to members of the council, members of the community, that people coming from out of the area think that this is really a genuine place. So I just wanted to share that.
And if I could add to that, you're correct. The people that are doing the filming and setting everything up, I was in contact with a gentleman because our band practices outside 2 days a week. filming up on 7th Street, so he was asking if they could practice inside, and they're giving a significant donation to our band boosters for that. So they're really nice people, and you're right, he couldn't have praised our town anymore, and they are looking for more endeavors to.
The basis is to come back here, they said if they find things that sort of fit what they are looking to do,